So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream.
In American history, education for African American students was virtually impossible before the Civil War. There are a few exceptions, but for students, studying was often held in non traditional, often dangerous environments. For others, acquiring any form of knowledge was an independent process. In the early 1830s, the Institute for Colored Youth began. Today, there are 107 historically black colleges and universities in the United States. For years, HBCUs have been a safe haven for black students, providing a professional learning ground to promote black excellence while creating a family like feel, essentially a home away from home. So, this brings up the question: is the HBC in you? Florida A&M University, founded in 1887, is widely known for being the #1 producer of blacks with bachelor degrees, the Marching 100, and for being the largest HBCU. Across the tracks from FAMU sits Florida State University, a school widely known for their exceptional campus, programs, and championship football team. FSU is classified as a predominantly white institution. For years, debates have compared PWIs to HBCUs, placing one as superior to the other, and ultimately breaking the bridge between black students at these various institutions. FSU students Chanel Stewart and Naquanta Brown have experienced this firsthand.
This whole PWI versus HBCU debate, I feel like at the end of the day, as long as we are getting our education, like, it's fine. Like, okay, people have you're a traitor, you go to a PWI. No, I'm not. I'm a black student getting my education. That's what I am. It should not matter.
Well, black people, they need to be everywhere. Like, there needs to be African Americans at a PWI so they can expose those students to the black culture. And then also at HBCUs, like, there have to be black people there. Not necessarily black people, but, like, it needs to be diverse and everywhere so people can really understand what it is to be black.
For decades, HBCUs have been the breeding grounds for successful African Americans. With all the successful people that HBCUs have been known to produce, why is it that top black students are still criticized for their decisions to attend these black institutions? For freshman Brian Anderson, this question rang true after graduating high school with test scores ranking amongst top students in the nation.
You could definitely see on their faces, like, I'm thinking about going to FAMU. I want to go to FAMU. It's like, and then I got accepted into Duke, and they're like, oh, but Duke, and it's like the push was in the other direction, but I'm here.
I would want it to go to FAMU. At first, it was always like, where's that? And I'd be like, it's in the same city as FSU. They'd be like, oh, then why don't you just go to FSU? And it's like, because, I've been in this kind of predicament already, like, not feeling good about myself because I'm with other people that's put on a higher pedestal than I am. So it's like they gave me the expected reactions, but I didn't let that deter me away from coming.
Some people be like, wow, that's amazing, or I'm so glad he's here, or he's going to love his experience, and then you have people on the opposite spectrum like, why is he going here? He could have gone anywhere.
At first, when I said that I was going to FAMU, they were like, what? And then I explained to them my reasonings, and it wasn't that they were against me going to a black school, or a predominantly black school, but they were just like, because I'd never talked about it before, and I mean, I would be a minority in the school, and I'd never been in that kind of environment, and so, yeah, they were like, what? And I explained, it's not that far from home, and the tuition, I'm saving $50,000, and then they were like, go Rattlers.
HBCUs aren't only looked down upon from the white community, however. Younger black generations are beginning to accept the negative stigmas as well. So what has created the gap that makes PWIs appear more desirable than HBCUs?
I think it's largely because of the metrics that we use. We use a lot of statistics and a lot of analysis, which is not necessarily wrong. It doesn't necessarily represent the HBCU though. And so a lot of things regarding incoming freshmen and selectivity, PWIs can have a lot higher selectivity ratings because they have names to be built on, and HBCUs more have a mission to support and uplift the black community. And so that doesn't necessarily translate to those metrics.
With minority rates increasing at both universities, why does it still come as a surprise when students go to schools with people that don't look like them?
I went to the store with my friend, and we were looking at colors of toys. So there was one that was orange and green, and then he was like, the store owner was like, "Oh, here's one for FAMU. I know you like that one, but just because I'm black, I go to FAMU. I can't go to FSU."
When I was apartment shopping, it was really funny because I went to probably 5 or 6 different places, and they were like, "Oh, so you're going to be a student here?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Do you go to FSU or TCC?" Like, FAMU was, they never asked me if that was going to school at FAMU, and I was like, "Oh, actually, I'm going to FAMU." They're like, oh, really?" I'm like, "Yeah."
One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
Racial incidents at PWIs have led to unity movements by people of color in recent history. This reveals that racism and prejudice are still apparent today. Knowing of a school's racial background, how is it for people of color seeking acceptance and success in these schools?
Being the only black student in my class, sometimes it does make me feel uncomfortable because one time I remember I was sick and I fought to go to class because it was a presentation day, and I felt like, dang, like I'm the only black girl, like I can't be sick. They're gonna be, of course the black girl would miss presentation day. Like that's how I felt at that time.
I've never felt personally uncomfortable, but there have been situations where people make assumptions that all white people look down on black people, and then they would look to me and say, "Oh, I'm not talking about you." And I know that black people don't like to have stigmas on them, and it's the same way with white people because they're not all the same either.
I was on the cheerleading team, and there's only maybe 3 or 4 African American people on the team, and I got along with them fine, and we all got along. I still talk to some of them till this day. And then I'm also in organizations where it's majority black people, and we just all get along. It's just your individual self.
So how can we rebridge the gap between minorities?
I feel like black students can reach out to white counterparts by bringing the discussion into the classroom.
It has been brought up. I've never been asked to share my opinion, or I would, but I usually just sit and soak it in.
So how do the experiences at these schools differ, and what makes it this way?
You know, endowments. We don't have money just being thrown at us where a lot of these other universities do. The other thing is, though, I don't think the experience is measurable in the same way. If I was to look at metrics, I wouldn't have been here. And if I hadn't come here before my senior year, I wouldn't have thought that metrics aren't the only thing. And I would be probably at FSU studying the same major in the same college, paying a lot more for it and having a lot different experience. I don't think it would be necessarily bad, but there's a lot to miss out on from not going to an HBCU.
Differences is just our, our entertainment, our liveliness, showing our love for our school. Compared to theirs, it just seems like they're all about sports. Whenever it's FSU's homecoming, honestly, it's just like, to me, it's just like, okay, cool, it's homecoming. Garnet and gold, I'm wearing my school colors, okay, cool. I only look forward to the football game, that's about it. Oh, they might bring a celebrity out here. Okay, cool, I might go to that. I remember I went to a FAMU football game. I just felt at home, like, I don't, like, you see the old heads, you see, like, grandma, auntie, like, everybody is there. But when it's FSU's, I mean, yes, the students' parents, they do come because they went to FSU, but I personally, like, I'm the first in my family to be at a university, so I don't have that same connection. However, when I go over there, like, somebody else's parents will be welcoming me. I'll be walking around with somebody else's parents. Like, I'll still have that homey feeling. Like, our homecoming is just so much more, it's just deeper than sports. It's like, it just shows a love for our school.
I've had a great experience at FAMU so far. I found out that I had an interview, and I actually went and tried out for cheerleading 2 weeks later, and I was nervous about that. Me and Mom talked about it because I love to cheer, but I didn't know if I would be accepted, and so Mom was just like, just go try it, because it was a 2-day process. She was like, if you don't like it, we don't even have to go back the next day. And so I walked in, and I felt like I was at church. Everybody treated me so nicely.
What classes do these universities offer that have had the greatest impact on Black students?
African American history, I think that's pretty cool that they made that a mandatory class. Honestly, I wish more people would appreciate the fact that that's a mandatory class and appreciate the fact that that's something that you're not getting anywhere else.
It's in my classes that are titled African American or have African American in them that I learn the most or have the most discussion about race and racial topics.
A lot of that information was stuff that you've never seen before, you probably will never see again. And you know, they talk about whitewashing history and holding back certain parts of it. And you know, this whole Gods of Egypt movie is a perfect representation of that, because Gods of Egypt, you come out with a white guy in the poster. If you paid attention in class, you realize that there's no way that that's possible. And so it allows you to reclaim a strong part of your past as a Black person, regardless of your origin, because your origin traces back to Africa. And so now you know your roots, and so you know where you've been, you can know where you're going. So I think that's pretty powerful.
So what are the future of HBCUs? With threats to our institutions closing and a lack of funding, what can be done to save these Black spaces that have protected, enriched, and educated our people for decades? What can be done to improve our schools so that alumni will want to donate or send their children in the future?
To prevent closing and mergings, especially, I know that they wanted to shut off the e-school from us. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, you know, metrics don't necessarily apply to the HBCU, but metrics are still the system. You know, metrics are still the system that we live in. Metrics don't necessarily determine the HBCU experience, but the college and the university system in general uses these metrics. And so while HBCUs have a commitment to the mission of bettering the Black community, we also have to make sure that we meet these metric standards that have been set outside of our communities, because that's determining how we get a lot of our funding and a lot of our accreditation. And so in order to stay in operation, we have to, you know, exist and kind of cooperate with these standards that not necessarily come for us.
I want to go to an HBCU also because I'm looking into like graduate schools, because I want to get the full college experience at both type of schools. But for my future kids, it don't matter where they want to go as long as they go somewhere. I don't want them to just be sitting home. I'm not taking care of them all my life.
I mean, I'm hoping that me coming back and, you know, giving back to the school, still taking part in all these things that have put so much into me, will show my kids indirectly, and they just won't have any other choice to make. But, you know, if they start looking other places, you know, I'm gonna just keep it in their mind, look at HBCU.
In their respective schools, these students have all learned from their experiences and grown.
If given the opportunity to choose which university I would attend again, I would still choose Florida State University, because yes, like somebody has said, look at the monkeys. Yes, that has happened, but you know, I learned from that. I can grow, and sometimes do I feel lonely? Yes, I do. But however, I know that I have the care program here at Florida State. They brought me in here. I know if I ever feel down, I do have people to talk to, and I don't know, it's just like a learning experience. Also, like having FAMU right next door, it honestly helps being here. So I feel like if it was like another PWI that doesn't have a HBCU by it, it would be, maybe I would feel different.
I used to be uncomfortable saying Black people, like, or because, you know, but now I'm not, because I feel like that's my family now, you know? And I know that some people, like at cheerleading practice, they would say white people, and I'm like, it's just white people, you know, whatever. I mean, you're Black, I'm white. It's just the color of our skin. So.
I go over to FSU, and they have a lot. It's almost like an amusement park. It's just beautiful. Some things that I wish we had, 24-hour dining and more options, and, you know, more dorms and nicer dorms and things like that. But it's like all of that is surface level. All of that is on the surface. I go see my friends at FSU, and they're pretty much hanging out with the same people that they left high school with. And it's like here you meet new people every day. They stay inside a lot of the time, besides when there's an events. And you know, there's a lot of events over at FSU. But it's like here, there's always something to get you out. And so I could have gone to FSU, studied engineering at the same engineering school, and had the nice PWI experience, but I've never regretted coming here.